Hello drummers, musicians, music aficionados. Drum teacher Tim Connolly is here today with a very special and super important video. I've been anticipating doing this video for quite some time. Today is May 25th, 2022. This is a very special day. It's my birthday. I'm 57 years old today. And I have mixed feelings about that because, you know, we're getting older. All of us, we're getting older. But there's another reason why today is super special for me. I received my very first drum kit on this day in 1972. So we're talking 50 years of drumming. And that is very special to me. I remember that first kit like it was yesterday. I'm going to post a picture somewhere here. I still have pictures of that first kit. Now, I don't have pictures of me when I was little playing it, but I have pictures of me playing it as a young teenager. And that's what these pictures are. So, you know, I have so many incredible memories of being a drummer, and I just want to give you guys a brief history of right from the beginning of how I got a drum kit, how I got into drumming, and some of the things that I've gone through as a drummer. So in December of 1971, that's actually when I first got to see drummers play live. Now I have to admit that the Beatles were my big influence as a young child. And Ringo was the first drummer that I really latched onto and thought, this guy is absolutely amazing. Now, I have to admit, I was heavily influenced by 4 older sisters and an older brother. Playing music around the house, I got to hear everything. My parents listened to country. My brother was listening to Zeppelin and the Doors and Pink Floyd. My sisters were mainly listening to the Beatles, the Kinks, the Rolling Stones, and of course the pop music of the time as well. So I got to hear a lot of music. And I can remember in 1967 when the Beatles released Hello Goodbye. And I can remember being in my sister's room and her taking one of those little records and putting it on her record player, and me hearing Hello Goodbye for the first time. And that's where it all started, when I started listening to music at such a young age that I started to pick up a real passion for music. And I've always loved music right from a young child. I was 2 years old, but I do still remember, believe it or not, I can still remember hearing that classic Beatles tune and being heavily influenced. So then we fast forward to December 1971, like I started off with. And in December 1971, the Santa Claus parade that year just happened to go right down my street, right in front of my house. And I can remember being so excited for this parade. Now, when the parade started, it started quite far from my house. So I had to stand out in front of my house and wait for this parade to come. So you can imagine from several blocks away, quite a few blocks away, I could hear this thumping and this banging, you know, in the background. And I was like, what is that? What is that noise? It's just, it sounds so awesome. It was, of course, a marching band, snare drum, toms, bass drum, and all the other kids in my neighborhood were so excited, of course, to see Santa and the reindeer and all that. And I was too. But once I heard those drums, that changed everything. And then when they got closer and closer, and as they moved closer and closer, my excitement level rose. And then when they went marching right in front of my house with that loud power of the snare drums and the bass drum, boom, 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 I just remember looking at my mother and saying, I want to be a drummer. And her reaction, of course, was, you're not getting any drums. Those things are way too loud. You can forget that, mister. But I did not forget that. And I hounded her mercilessly, and I wanted to get drums for Christmas. Now, it turns out that I was 6 years old. She thought I was too young. I did not get any drums that Christmas. However, on my birthday, today, 50 years ago, my mother got me a set of Westbury drums. They were used, they were kind of beat up, they were old, but I loved them, and it was the greatest birthday present ever. And that launched a lifelong passion. I've never stopped playing. I've always studied. I went to music school. I played in hundreds of bands. I've played thousands of gigs. It's unbelievable what I've actually done with music from that original day. Now, I do remember prior to the Westbury kit having like a Mickey Mouse kind of a snare drum or something banging around on. She might have got that for me for Christmas that year, was just a little drum to bang on. So I guess it did start maybe even earlier than when I was 7. But the actual drum kit, where I actually got to play grooves and stuff, didn't happen until my birthday. Now, I did not take lessons from 7 till 10. I just banged around on those drums. They were in my room and just drove everybody crazy, basically, because I really couldn't play. But I was learning, and I listened to the Beatles and the Stones and all this music that was around me, and I started to pick up a few beats. And I actually started to be able to play just on my own from listening to music. Now, you got to remember, this is the early 70s. There was no internet. There was only whatever you saw on TV. If there was a music or a band playing on TV, that's what you watched. There were no tapes. There were no DVDs. There was none of this stuff. It was just what you could see on TV exclusively. So, I didn't get to see a lot of musicians performing, but we had this book called the TV Guide, and I would search through that. And I would try to see if there was going to be a documentary about the Beatles, or Buddy Rich was going to be on TV, or some kind of a performance, Led Zeppelin. Somebody was going to be on TV, and I would seek them out, and I would circle them, and I would say, the TV is mine for that time because I have to watch my bands playing. So the passion grew and grew and grew, and I loved playing drums. And then one day, I can remember my mother coming in my room and saying, "That's it. I've had it. Enough is enough." And I was like, "Oh no, she's going to take my drums away. Heaven forbid. Oh no." Turns out she came in there and she said, "I signed you up for drum lessons." And of course my reaction, and I was 10 years old at the time, my reaction was, "I don't need lessons. I already know how to play." Of course, I was totally wrong. She was 100% right, as she always was almost through my entire life. My mother sadly passed away in 2003, but looking back in hindsight, she was almost always right. And I have to give her that credit now. She was almost always right. So I unhappily and begrudgingly did show up for my lesson. And my drum teacher's name was Tim, coincidentally. And I ended up taking lessons with him for 4 years. Now, this is another thing that's very interesting, is that not only have I played drums for 50 years, but I've been taking lessons for 47. And I still take lessons to this day. Now, I am not taking a weekly lesson, even a monthly lesson. I take lessons here and there, and I've always sought out really, really great musicians, drummers, teachers, whatnot, to teach me. And it's not necessarily something that I do often anymore. Back in the day, I took weekly lessons. Sometimes I took lessons twice a week. It was crazy. I took lessons, of course, in music school and after music school. And, you know, drum lessons, they're not cheap. When I was a struggling student in music school, it was tough to get lessons outside of the lessons that I was actually getting at the school, because that was part of the curriculum, was the lessons, so it was paid for in the tuition. But if I wanted to get a special lesson with somebody else, you'd have to pay for that, and sometimes that was tough. So lessons have been a huge part of the whole thing for me of playing drums, and the relationships and the bonding that you develop with your teachers. It's probably the closest I've ever been to adults and children, so to speak. I was a child, and then of course I had an adult teacher, and I was probably closer to my drum teachers than I was any of my teachers throughout my entire life. I was close to almost all of my significant drum teachers. Now, like I said, I had a number of teachers that I studied with for years and years and years. And then I had, you know, a lesson here, a lesson there, 2 lessons here, 2 lessons there. I've taken thousands of drum lessons, and I've learned a ton from these teachers. So I highly recommend you seek out a drum teacher and get lessons for yourself, your kid, recommend it to your friends, whatever. It's very, very important. So over the span of the years of playing drums, I played in many bands. I'm actually not going to get into too much of the individual bands because there's just too many, but I've played so many gigs. I've played every type of gig, you know, cruise ships, bars, theaters, giant stadiums, tiny little places, weddings, bar mitzvahs, Valentine's parties, Halloween parties. I mean, you name it, I've played every gig. Every gig imaginable, I think I've done it. I've played in some amazing venues in front of some incredibly huge and amazing crowds. And then I've played gigs where you could hear crickets, or you could see tumbleweed blowing through the place where there was nobody there. And that's the life of a musician. You know, I recently watched a video of Vinnie Colaiuta playing at the Baked Potato in California, very famous venue in California. And even though the camera mainly is on Vinnie for the majority of the show, and the drumming is mind-blowing, Vinnie is, in my opinion, the greatest drummer on earth to this day. But there's a couple times where they pan out and show the crowd. There's barely anybody there. There might be 25 or 30 people in the venue. I did hundreds of those gigs. So it doesn't matter if you're Vinnie Colaiuta or you're just lowly Tim Connolly. You're going to be playing gigs where you're going to be playing in front of 5, 10, 15, 20 people. And then you might, if you're lucky, you get to play gigs where you're in front of 5 or 10,000 people. I've done it all. And I have no regrets. I loved playing drums. I loved playing in front of an audience. I've always been a performer. I think that's another reason why this YouTube thing came fairly natural to me. It hasn't been easy. YouTube has not been easy. I've had to work my tail off to try and get where I am. I'm still not quite anywhere near where I want to be on YouTube, but with every video and everything I do, I try to get better and better and better. So I just want to talk quickly about the very first band that I was in, which was called Obsession for Music. And I have some pictures I put up previously. I'll put them up again quickly just to show you. This band was my very first band. I was 14 years old, so I was in grade 8 or 9, something like that in high school. I think I was in grade 9, yeah, 1979. And my friend Brian, as you'll see in the picture, there was a bass drum head. And it was custom made by my friend Brian. And I still have that head. Here it is here. This is the Obsession for Music bass drum head. And this head is from 1979, and I still have it. Sadly, I don't have that drum kit. I wish I had that drum kit, but unfortunately I do not. You know, I've gone through so many drum kits over the years. I'm going to do a separate video just covering all the drum kits that I've had over 50 years because it's unbelievable amount of drums. Now, in behind me, you can't really see them because I'm kind of in the way, but I'm going to do a review of my Yamaha my Yamaha Stage Customs in the next room. These are my Yamaha Recording Customs. And I have about 3 or 4 drum kits, so I will at some point do a video showcasing my different drum kits. So YouTube has allowed me to be another another performer, another aspect of performing, because I don't really do any gigs too much anymore. I do the odd one, but just not like I used to. COVID kind of killed it for me, and I've got other things going on in my life, and I just don't have time to play in a band. This YouTube thing takes up a lot of time. Editing, as you know, anyone out there that's a YouTuber, the filming part I actually find fairly easy. I'm comfortable in front of the camera. I don't have a problem getting my thoughts out. I don't have a script for this particular. This is just all off the cuff. And I have to thank Steve, Junk Drummer TV, huge influence on me for just off the cuff, talking, almost rambling a little bit. But you know, I love that guy because his videos are so awesome, and he just says what he feels and says what he has to say, and it's awesome. And I really enjoy Steve's videos. So check out Junk Drummer TV. I did an interview with him recently too, so check out my interview with Steve as well. It's on my YouTube channel. So jumping fast forward a little bit, I just want to talk about Dom Famularo and how much he has influenced me. Dom Famularo is the greatest drum teacher in the world, hands down. The man is brilliant. He's an awesome drummer. If you're not familiar with Dom, please just type his name in. He's all over YouTube. But don't just watch him playing drums. Watch videos of him teaching, where he's teaching the molar technique or the free stroke or all the things that I actually have videos on as well, because I learned them all from Dom. But also watch him talking to an audience. He's an excellent motivational speaker. And whenever I've been down or had times where, you know, geez, this drumming thing is difficult, whatever, and I talk to Dom, he always perks me up and puts me back in perspective and sits me down and says, you know, remember that passion when you were 15, 16 years old and you were at school and you're in that boring math class and you're thinking, I can't wait to get home to play those drums. I always think about him saying that to me whenever I get, you know, less motivated and I don't really feel like playing too much, because we all go through it. I think about those moments when I was 15 and 16 years old, so excited at school to get home and play those drums. And that's what keeps me motivated. Because a lot of you are wondering, how do you play drums for 50 years and stay excited about it? Well, I'm just as excited now as I was back then, because I've obviously gotten a lot better over the years at playing, but just my passion for music has been so strong, and it's been fueled by teachers like Kevin Dempsey, Ernie Porthouse, Paul DeLong, Rick Gratton, you know, a few lessons that I took with Chuck Silverman, and a couple lessons I took with Steve Smith, and the list goes on and on and on. Zorro the drummer. I've taken so many lessons with so many different people. But the number one guy, I would have to say, in terms of influence and motivating and making me so passionate and excited about music, is Dom Famularo. So please check out Dom. If you, like I said, if you're not familiar with him, check out his lessons, check out his playing, check out his motivational talks, because you will learn something just this man is a shining light. Just being around him is inspiring. Just listening to him talk, he's amazing. He's been going through some difficult health struggles right now. He's recovering from pancreatic cancer surgery. I've been in contact with Dom and his wife, mainly his wife Charmaine, because Dom obviously is not, you know, up after surgery to be contacting a lot of people and stuff, but he has made a couple posts. I've talked to him once. I've talked to Charmaine quite a few times. He's recovering, and we all hope and pray that he is back drumming and getting back on stage, performing and doing all his motivational talks and traveling the world like he always does. So Dom Famularo, if you see this, Dom, I just want to let you know how much you mean to me, how much you've influenced me, and how much I care about you and the times that we have spent together in lessons. Now, I have decided that I'm going to do a separate video specifically about Dom, because of the influence he's had on me has been incredible. So I'm going to do a video talking about my time that I've spent with Dom, the many things that we have done together, because we've done tons of things together, and that's going to be a separate video. So I've talked a lot during this video. I hope that you stuck to the end. Please like, subscribe, comment, wish me happy birthday. And I will be back again very soon with a video, like I said, about Dom. I'm going to do another instructional video. You know, if you're new to my channel, I do a variety of things. I do gear reviews, I do performance, I do lessons, I do drum teacher reaction videos, I do top 10s, top 20s, you know, everything to do with drumming and music. That is my bag, baby. So, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm so happy that you were able to be here for my 50th anniversary of drumming, and of course my 57th birthday. Like Dom Famularo would say, you're only getting better. You are not getting older. So, hopefully I can keep growing as a musician too. Like I said, keep taking the lessons, keep learning, keep developing, and of course, keep drumming. See ya.